it becomes so normalized that people can call people skinny. But if I turned around and went, easy for you, fatty, you would get absolutely ripped. You know, what is the struggle?
Information overload. You know, seeing everything on the internet of how you should gain muscle, gain weight, the foods to eat. I've done the go mad thing, weight gain shake stuff. Stop worrying about perfecting the amount of creatine you get and focus on, the parts that matter.
The sheer volume of food, 2,450 calories in one meal. Like, that's more food than people eat in a day.
Yep.
45-minute job, and I was absolutely fucked at the end of it.
American football, I played wide receiver, right? Because I was skinny and tall. And it wasn't until maybe similar to what you said about, feeling like a man, like getting out of college and looking around, and I'm like, there's all these guys are like, we're not the same size as we were in high school. And I'm like, I still feel like I'm in my high school college body here. When did I get my next one? Yeah. Where do I get my ticket for the next ride? So,
not to generalize, but I would imagine people who are overweight or have been overweight would like to be called skinny. I'm like, who the fuck do you think you are? So it's like, who the fuck are you to comment on someone's body?
Yeah. Woke up one day and kind of thought, I'm behind on this. That's not the way to go. You need to kind of make sure that relationship with food is maintained, because you're going to have to eat some of it later.
If you're someone who struggles to gain weight, you're not alone. Today I sit down with Phil. Phil and I have struggled with this our entire lives. Food focus, getting the calories in, understanding what the fuck to do and where to look. We're going to cover all that today. Let's get into it. Welcome, Phil. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for your patience this week, because I know I have scheduled this many times and then just fucking changed it every single time. So we're here. As I was saying just before Dill hit record, it's not often that when I have an initial call with someone, which for us was 3 years ago, potentially more, that I'll say that I don't get hyped. That's not true. In a way that, like, I fully get and understand the struggles of someone, because you come from a similar position that I have been in. And I think that this will be valuable, sort of telling that, and we'll sort of go through the struggles as to what that is, because I often think that many people don't get it. They get that it's easy for you. I wish I had that problem, but at the end of the day, it's still a problem to overcome, and there's struggles along with that. So let's go right back to that call, even before. What is the struggle? Why did you reach out?
Yeah, I think before reaching out to you, I think it was maybe the same struggles that we'll get into a bit, but the main one was maybe information overload.
Okay.
Getting, seeing everything on the internet of how you should gain muscle, gain weight, the foods to eat. I've done the go mad thing. I've done the weight gain shake stuff. On top of all the, you should do strong lifts, you should do 5x5, you should do German volume train, like tried it all. But the biggest thing is, I wasn't consistent about any of it. It was open up the phone, find a YouTube video that looks interesting that day, do that exercise. And then the next day you're smoked because you tried a new exercise. You didn't really, get efficient about it, or really even do it correctly. And then you're on to the next YouTube video the next day. And that, you're chasing the dragon at that point, just because it's, now I need a YouTube video that has an alluring workout or a meal that I want to eat, or something that motivates me. And so you need more and more and more of that. And it, you'll hit your limit on it, and then you're like, fuck it, I'm not going to work out today. And then that turns into 2 days and 3 weeks, and you're not eating. So any inconsistent progress that I may have had immediately gets stripped away in those periods where it's like, I'm not immediately motivated. I'm not, lust is a weird word to use, but let's say in your case, you're in love with the health and fitness. And I think for me in that situation, it was lust. It looked cool. I wanted it. But when I tried it and did, I'm like, nah, I don't know about this. It's not what I thought it was.
I think that's a valid point, even for anybody. People like the idea of, we'll just like bracket it as getting in shape. It's probably sold as some dream that's easy, that you can do relatively quickly. And when people actually get into it, the reality of like, fuck that, kicks in. And I wouldn't say that it's necessarily difficult. It's just a lot. And I don't think people realize that, regardless of where they start or what their goal is. I don't think people realize that at all. But I guess the overall goal is gain weight, gain muscle. If I think about myself, whenever I started training, if I try and do math real quick, I was probably about between 150 and 160 pounds whenever I started. I'm 6'2", so I mean that doesn't necessarily look great on someone of my height. It's the skinny fat. For me specifically, I felt like I was at the age, I think it was maybe 26 or 27, that I didn't feel like a man, really. I felt like I was coming to the age that I should be a man, and I didn't have the man's body. We actually looked at the photos on the way down. I was like, fucking hell. So for me, it was like, okay, I want to be big and strong. How the fuck do I do that? And then obviously got into it from that. And I think, similarly to yourself, it was like what do I need to do to gain muscle here? Similar, like for you?
Yeah. What do I need to do to get there? But again, the biggest thing that you did was cut down on the noise. Talk about signal to noise. Like the signal is what actually gets you there, and the rest of it's just noise. And I think I couldn't pick out the signal from the noise. So starting, in WeHackhealth, that's where it really kicked off, is stop worrying about perfectly perfecting the amount of creatine you get and exactly taking it 30 minutes before a workout and making sure that all your lifts are 3 sets of 8 to 12, or, hyper fixating on, numbers and black and white things, and rather focus on, the parts that matter, which is checking the box every day, whether it's a perfect amount of creatine or calories or whatever, like get there every day.
Okay, so let's go back right even before that. Like growing up, similar to me, skinny. Like, I mean, you were probably more active than I was, just given sort of hobbies and whatever else. What was the feeling there?
I mean, as a kid, to me it was normal. I played all the sports. I could play a position that suited me. So, American football, I played wide receiver, right? Because I was skinny and tall. And it wasn't until maybe similar to what you said about, feeling like a man, like getting out of college and thinking like, looking around and I'm like, there's all these guys are like, we're not the same size as we were in high school anymore. When I walked around in high school, it was fine because plenty of people looked like me, plenty of people were way bigger. Some people were overweight, whatever. So it was normal, but then you get out in, after school and into the real world, and you start to see, wow, the percentages here have changed. There's a lot more people who have kind of hit this bar of, this imaginary, like this is what an adult looks like. And I'm like, I still feel like I'm in my high school, college body here. When did I get my next one? Yeah. Where do I get my ticket for the next ride? So, I think that was similar to you. It was, I feel like I woke up one day and kind of thought, I'm behind on this. What's going on here? And then you try and, okay, I'm going to outsmart this. I'm going to figure it out. I'm a smart guy. And that's where the overload of information starts.
Yeah. And to be fair, like a previous version of me would have been like a fuck you to all of that other information. I do agree that, obviously there's a lot of information. Every other thing that you read will contradict the last thing that you read, and it just can become this fucking merry-go-round of not knowing what the fuck's going on. But I think within that, it is potentially people who had similar struggles along the way, that they tried a lot of stuff and then they found that this one thing really worked for them. So they're now telling them like, this is the way to do it. So I don't think there's any sort of, ill intent with people who are sharing that. I think it's just that this is the thing that worked for them. And even potentially within this, they've just found, now the people that we work with in here, they've just found that this is what works for them, and that's okay. The thing that like you said, I try and do is like, okay, right, like we just fucking disregard all these things. And even when people come to me now, they're like, oh, I was watching Andrew Huberman and I was watching this, and I'm like, that's cool, and I recognize all these people, but can we just focus on this thing and see that as like a cool plus once we're nailing these things? So when we started, we obviously set a consistent workout plan, and we looked at sort of calories and where they're at. The biggest struggle, and I think you'll agree on this, whenever it comes to gaining weight and gaining muscle, is eating fucking food. And this is where I think that the people who come from the fat loss side don't get it. And I very specifically remember standing in the gym at Gymco in Belfast beside the hack squat under the clock at the mirror, and I was talking to a client. Her name was Rebecca, and I was like just general chit chat, and I was expressing my frustration that, you know, I was eating 4,300 calories at the time, and I was doing my lifts and I just wasn't making the progress. And she made this sort of comment like, well, yeah, lucky for you being able to eat 4,300 calories. And I was like, number one, difficult to do whenever you're eating like real food. If you're going to Five Guys every fucking other day, yeah, that's fine. But difficult to do in terms of eating real food, but irrelevant of the amount of food. It's that I'm doing all of the things that have been prescribed to me that I've been told that will get me to my goal, and I'm not getting to my goal. If it's the other side and I'm eating fucking 1,800 calories and I'm still doing all the stuff, if I'm not making progress from a fat loss perspective, it's the same thing on opposite ends of the scale. I know you and I have been through many iterations of food, and, you know, we've had to push things up and pull things back because it just becomes so, you just overload yourself so much. You become so food focused that it becomes almost a fucking full-time job. Yeah. So talk me through the journey of food with you.
Yeah, I mean, that same, I've even at the events with other folks in the group, we have that same conversation of, wow, it must be nice to eat all those calories, and it's the same response. It's like, it's not all that different from what you had to deal with. And even conversations I've had recently with some folks is, it's, you know, the same gnawing, miserable feeling you feel when you're hungry because you're on low calories and you're trying to cut weight is the same gnawing, miserable feeling I feel when I'm like, I don't want to eat, but I need to eat in order to hit my goal. There's truly no difference. I think if you, the difference is like just perspective. Like it's, if you were to put their mind in my body, they would feel the same way. You know what I mean? I think for people who are struggling to lose weight, same with people who are struggling to gain weight, it's to me shockingly similar how similar those two efforts are in terms. I think, you know, if you're trying to lose weight, it's very, oh, we're the weight loss people and this is a common problem, and you know, the skinny people don't have it like us. No, it's the same. Like I can assure you it's the same struggle of you know, you wake up at night in the middle of the night because you're hungry. I wake up in the middle of the night because I'm full. Like there's no difference. So I think it would help people to have that perspective, to think about that when they have conversations with folks, because I think people who are losing weight can learn from people who are gaining it, and vice versa. If you look at it from the perspective of, it's really the same thing. We're just the perspective of it's just from the different angle.
It's I mean, to put a cliche quote on it, the grass is always greener. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I want what you have in terms of, you know, I would, not to generalize, but I would imagine people who are overweight or have been overweight would like to be called skinny because they potentially have had that their whole life. And I very specifically remember, where were we? We're at a burger joint. Rob G was drinking a beer out of a fucking glass boot. Were you there?
Where was this?
I can't fucking remember. Cannot remember. But anyway, long story short, I'm going to rip Tyler here. Tyler had said something about, he mentioned the word skinny. And like, it used to fuck me off so much whenever I was younger. And it doesn't so much anymore, but I don't know what way he caught me, but I like went in on him there. I'm like, who the fuck do you think you are? And I think it becomes so normalized that people can call people skinny. But if I turned around and went, easy for you, fatty. Yeah. Or even, you know, people like, oh, you should eat a burger. Like you're like, or if I went, yeah, fatty, you should eat a fucking salad. Like you would get absolutely ripped. So it's like, who the fuck are you to comment on someone's body? Yeah. Regardless of, you know, what direction they're trying to go. But I think it is that, you know, that's what people would like. People would like to be called skinny. And it's fucking difficult. So the food thing, on my end, like I was discussing this on the way down, the sheer volume of food. Like I remember days getting to the end of the day and being like, fucking hell, you know, I've just had my dinner and I still need 1,000 calories. Where the fuck am I going to get that from? Or, you know, a meal plan that I used to have is I needed to eat 8 full eggs and an avocado for breakfast. I don't give a fuck if you scramble them, fry them, boil them. If you're eating 8 eggs, it's a lot of fucking eggs to get through. I remember for about 6 months, my post-workout meal was 250 grams of chicken, 2 bags of microwavable rice, which is about, well, I guess they're 250 grams each, so 500 grams of rice, 2 bagels, 50 grams of jam, 2 Pop-Tarts, and a banana. 2,450 calories in one meal. Like, that's more food than people eat in a day. Yep. 45-minute job, and I was absolutely fucked at the end of it. So they don't see the struggle within that. And again, there's like, people would love to be able to do that, because on the opposite side, if people did that, their weight would go up. But if we miss a meal or don't hit our calories, our weight goes down. So it's very much the same problem. It's just going in the opposite direction. Calorie-wise for you, we always have been over 3,000 calories, and we've pushed it. How the fuck do you get those in? With great difficulty.
Yeah, forced. No, I mean, like you said, it starts with a big breakfast. A struggle on that is if you get behind, for me, it was, if I'm already behind a little bit by noon, what's the point anyway? Mm-hmm. Let's just scrap this day, and then maybe we'll be hungry tomorrow morning. And that obviously builds on itself. When it was successful, it was around 1,000 calories in the morning of different types of food. If I ate one thing, it would be too much, whatever, 2 bowls of your shitty cereal or something. You'd feel like shit until you had to eat again, not wanted to, but had to eat again. So eggs are a big one, but just small portions of different things for me was a lot more helpful. And maybe mentally, the same way we talk about cardio, like running for 20 minutes. Well, that's really only running for 5 minutes 4 times, mm-hmm. right? Same with calories. It's like, I'm not going to eat 1,000 calories right now. I'm going to eat 400 calories in eggs. I'm going to eat 200 calories in this. I'm going to have 600 calories in this. And it's just a lot easier to physically digest, but also mentally digest and think, hey, I didn't eat that much today. If you are constantly walking around like that was a big breakfast, I'm not going to eat until 5. You'll do that. You won't eat till 5. But if it's a bunch of small things, it's a lot easier to tell yourself, that wasn't a lot. Let's move on to the next one. What am I going to have for lunch? And do the same thing for lunch. So, I know a lot of people say eat 5 to 6 to 7 meals a day so you can cut it up. But to me, it's like the number of meals is less relevant than the portion size and the variety of things you eat. Eat 3 or 4 different things per meal, and don't sit down and eat 800 calories of anything. Just eat 200 to 400 of a bunch of different things, and it adds up. And also, I think long term, that's probably better for digestion anyway than it is to sit down and eat 1,000 calories of cereal for you.
But also, it's not as daunting. Like if you sit down, like that meal specifically, the post workout, there's so I can, like that was at least 10 years ago, and I mean, I can still ram it off every single, like, so that's how fucking ingrained it is in my head. I used to remember sitting down and like, fucking hell, this bullshit again. And like I said, it took me about 45 minutes. So like, if you have anything else to do bar eat food, you're fucked. It's a full-time job in itself. So having a look at that and sort of splitting it that way, I think is key for sure. The advice that I give that is the opposite that I give that people want to follow us is we need to look at things that are high calorie, low volume. So like, what's your go-to?
For me, it's the shakes that I do. Not to product plug here, but Fairlife milk.
Still no sponsorship from Fairlife.
Still no, yeah. Link below, contact us. Fairlife milk, yogurt, usually unflavored. Then a banana, regular peanut butter. Peanut butter's key just because it doesn't get much more dense and calorie rich than that, even if it's a little, maybe not the best for macros, but that's why in the shake, milk, banana, yogurt, peanut butter, and then just a protein mix. And so that's a perfect example. While it is, yes, it's blended and it's in a shake, it's not a lot of one thing. You know what I mean? And we're talking about 5 ingredients of anywhere from 100 to 300 calories each. And you wind up with, depending on how much of it you want to make, a 700 to 1,000 calorie smoothie post-workout, which post-workout, a lot easier to get something like that down. And easy to, mix and match and change that so it doesn't get so monotonous. You can throw strawberries, blueberries, whatever, to keep it fresh, I guess.
Yeah. I think I guess just to give a little bit more context for any people, it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know, the food volume. I mean, the amount of, like, the actual physical amount of food that you get per calorie. So generally recommended in a fat loss phase is like try and get as much actual food volume from the calories you have. And then we're literally trying to do the opposite. The shake one is definitely key. Now, I'm not here recommending that you should just get all of your calories from shakes, but in terms of being able to make something calorie dense, like I remember specifically fucking oats, peanut butter, dark chocolate, dates, anything you could get into it that you could just get down. And like you said, you can make that like 1,000, you make it 1,500 calories. Yep. It's fucking rough getting it, like whenever it gets to that stage, it's thick as fuck, or it's just a lot.
Yeah.
But like I think that's you know that's what it takes. You know, and there's even times that I've went down the route of looking at like mass gaining shakes and stuff like that. And to me, I guess because whenever I was going through all this, I worked in the juice bar, so I was making shakes. So I was like, okay, right, well, this mass gainer is telling me that this one scoop is 600 calories. That's just powder. That like the scoops in itself are fucking insane. I was like, you get this like tub that's the same size as a regular protein tub, and it's like 6 servings, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like it's like a shovel to try and get it out. These massive scoops, they're thick, they're grainy, they're just like not good. And I was like, well, surely I can just put the calories into the shake, and like you said, it gives you the variety. You can have any flavor of protein then you want, or any mix of blueberries, peanut butter, almond. Like you can, the variety there is endless. So that was definitely key for me, and even to the point. And again, I'm not recommending this. Like I remember adding in even like 10 mils or 10 grams, if you want to talk about, of walnut oil. So I'm literally putting oil to get the fucking calories in, but like it's a teaspoon, tablespoon. So it's not a lot to actually be able to get the calories in. Outside of shakes, what else are we going for?
Yeah, I mean, I think during my most, I guess, successful periods of weight gain, I mean, it's a trope in the industry, but chicken and rice. But I'll say this, for anybody, like I have not once sat down and eaten plain rice with nothing on it, or chicken with nothing on it. Like there's so many different, you can cook chicken in so many different ways, different flavors. Like just get good at it, because one, it's easy to do. Like chicken's an easy one to cook. You're going to do well with your macros. Rice is easy to cook. But I mean, if I showed you in my kitchen the different types of sauces that I have, or seasonings or stuff, like to me, it's again, low calorie, additive for food to be able to enjoy it. You know what I mean? Because if you're going to eat this every day or often, same with the milkshake, or same with the shake, you're gonna mix that up. So chicken and rice was a big one. Obviously, you can control the portions there as well. It's simple to make. You can meal prep it if that's your thing. But for me, that's one of the cornerstones between shakes and different types of chicken and rice. That was cornerstones during some of my most successful periods.
Yeah, I think even with that, like even a simple, and I think that this just comes from like potentially things that I've forgotten about. So this may be where the value is. Like the opposite that I would tell someone on a fat loss journey: swap chicken breast for chicken thighs, because there's more calories because it's just slightly fatter. Even that in itself, but even the different flavorings that you can do, like if you have 10 different flavors of whatever magic dust you put on your chicken, like it's not always the same. Total calories. So I think, again, we were talking to Rory on the way down here, and he's someone who struggles with the same thing, and he was like, I feel like I can't get enough calories in, and they're talking about like where you get this fucking magic number and whatever else. And like even for me, I don't use any calorie calculators or anything like that. The sort of goal is we just track food initially, and then we see how your body responds, and then we move it in the direction that we want it to. So it's tracking food. For anybody who does want a place to start, because you may be thinking, what the fuck are you talking about? For someone who's trying to gain weight, I would always look at your body weight in pounds times 14. Some random equation that will work from that point. If you do that and you don't gain weight, just eat more food. And like that, it's as simple as that. It's not that, the calorie calculators will give you a rough estimate. And even if they do, and that is what you use, if you do that for 2, 3, 4 weeks and you're, the weight's not moving in the direction you want, or you're not getting any stronger, or insert whatever metric that you're looking for, then simply just eat more food. There have been times that we have pushed calories, and there have been times that we realized that we potentially pushed it too far, and we have taken them back down because you've been like, I'm so like hyper focused on food. What's that like?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can have all these little tricks. The smoothie you can have. I'll do dark chocolate sometimes, but at a certain level, you're going to have to be super repetitive about your foods. It's going to be work to get it down during the day, and especially those big calorie days. I think this is probably something that I didn't see early on, or didn't notice early on, but I now am hyper aware of, is if your calories the day prior will affect your hunger the next day. Mm-hmm. And so if that means right before bed I'm eating 1,000 calories, so I hit that day's calories, it's a knock-on effect when you get, and it's a vicious cycle to be in, because then you wake up and you're not hungry because you ate just before bed, and then now you're behind for the next day, and you keep pushing calories out and out. And that's where I think we made that realization of every day is now playing catch up. And when you're in that mindset of playing catch up on that much calories every day, one, it's mentally draining. It takes any and all fun out of eating. Like, food doesn't taste anymore. It's not that it tastes bad or good. It just doesn't taste when you're eating that much. But the more difficult part starts when you don't want to eat anymore, and you start. That's where we noticed, hey, it's time to pull the plug on the calories here, because I was just saying, hey, I've got to short circuit this thing, so I'm going to not eat all my calories today, and I'll get them tomorrow. Well, I wake up the next day and I'm like, well, I'm still not really that hungry. So even the short circuiting, when you're in a several week block of that high of calories, it's going to take a few days to actually feel hungry again. It's not going to be something like I'll skip a meal and I'll be back. So that was a learning experience for me, kind of understanding we can push this, but I think it's a pretty short period of time, because you can have all the mental fortitude in the world. And I mean, shout out to folks who can, the bodybuilders who are doing 5,000 and 10,000 calories in a day. I mean, but even them, they're not doing that perpetually. You know what I mean? They do it and they're calculated about it. And I think we learned what that calculation is. It was, let's do this for a short period of time, get the gains from it, and then let's back off before we start to hate food, before we start to hate this process. And before we start kind of cheating ourselves on, I'm going to skip this meal, but I'll figure it out tomorrow. And, that doesn't happen at that level of calories. Yeah,
for sure. There's been times as well that, again, not something that I would necessarily recommend to everybody, but if we sort of take things right back to the 80-20 rule, if you get 80% of your foods 80% of your calories from whole foods and single source ingredients, number one, when you're doing that at such high calories, it's a lot of fucking food. The other side is 20%, a little bit more freedom, so a little bit more processed, or not necessarily something that you would think to have if you're on some sort of like health journey, if we call it. The thing about that is the 20% becomes a lot more, so you have a lot more, I guess, freedom around that. So there have been times I'm like, if we look at things over the week, which we do, and even if you look at your 20% of that, there is no reason that you can't go and get fucking Five Guys and a fucking milkshake, and it is 2,500 calories, that will sort of bring things back up. And it's looking at those percentages. And even if you do that on a day by day, I know people that, if you're at 4,000 calories, for example, 20% of that's going to be 800. If you get to the end of the day and you eat 800 calories worth of ice cream, fine, you've got your calories in. Not ideal, but you've ticked the box and you've got your calories. So it's finding ways that you can do that sort of break things up. The digestion you mentioned a couple of times. I know for me, when my digestive system, and this is actually something I'm dealing with at the minute with James, it's like, look, I want to move into a phase where I'm in a surplus, but I know that whenever calories start to increase and whenever food starts to increase and the amount of times in the day that I need to eat and the size of those meals throughout the day start to increase, it impacts my ability to focus. It impacts my productivity because your body and your digestive system are working so much to actually process and digest food. So did you notice any impact on that whenever like you're just fucking struggling? Like you eat a big meal and all you want to do is fucking have a nap, and you're like, all right, well, that's breakfast out of the way. I just have to do my entire day's work now.
Yeah. No, marked difference when I think 4,100 calories was what we topped out at. I was taking naps in the afternoon, and not by design. Like it was, you would have that either post-workout meal, which at that time meant a shake and something else. It was, man, that was a lot of food. Let me just take a second and sit down, and then you wake up and it's 2 or 3 hours later, and you're like, well, that's not great. I think that was a lesson learned in the digestion after those big meals will affect focus. For me, it was just shutting down. Not so like I can't say I noticed that I'm not able to focus on things. It was my body telling me, hey, you should take a break now. And not, what might have been better is go for a walk, do something active and help that. And those are the types of things that I've learned now that are, that are better. But, or another big one was when you're eating that much food, doesn't really feel great to drink a lot of water. And if you're not drinking a lot of water, you can bet what happens when you need to digest food too, right? So if you can manage to keep yourself active, do things that are just good for digestion in general. I mean, on top of the 80-20 rule or just eating foods that are good for your gut in general. But also think about the physical aspect of it. I mean, if you eat a lot of food, the next thing you want to do is sit down, do nothing, and that's not great.
Yeah.
It also slows it down, which you're going to have to eat in another couple hours anyway. So thinking of it kind of a trope, but like a well-oiled machine. You know what I mean? You need to keep yourself hydrated. You need to keep yourself moving around so that you don't wind up, sleeping for 4 hours thinking, I'll wake up and I'll be hungry. You won't. Not after you fell asleep from being or from eating food. You're not going to wake up and be like, I guess I'll eat again.
But even that, like, okay, so you're then potentially behind on calories, you're behind on your hydration, and then you're fucking behind on work as well. And it's just this constant cycle of trying to catch up. And even just, we're talking about digestion, and generally the things that, help with digestion is fiber and things like that. But also whenever calories are at that level, you don't really eat a lot of things that are high in fiber because it's like vegetables and it's things that are on that end of, low calorie, high volume. And you're like, I'm trying to do the opposite of that. So it's a fucking difficult balance to do for sure. But yeah, I mean, I would agree, I guess, to give some sort of value. Number one, if you are trying to gain weight, find out where you sort of sit roughly with your calories and maintenance, and then just gradually increase it over time. A pretty decent rate of gain is probably anywhere from half a pound to a pound a month, which even that is like, this is going to take me 10 eternities to do to get where I need to do, but you need to be able to accept that. And I guess the only saving grace, and I talk about this quite a lot when people shift from being a deficit for so long to moving into a surplus. It's like you almost have to forget the metric side that you potentially focused on before in terms of weight or measurements, and you need to like really hyper focus on the data that you're getting feedback from the gym in terms of your lifts. Like, am I getting stronger? And just know that is the thing that will drive muscle gain. And then obviously things that sort of help with digestion. I'm a big fan of kefir or like something that's fermented like sauerkraut or something like that. They definitely help whenever I'm in those instances of pushing calories. But it is a fucking struggle. And it is one that like not many people get. And like, as I said, I actually used it as an example. I had a call with Cole recently, and he was just such similar. Like whenever we and I had the first call and I had the same sort of conversation, I was like, I get this, like, it's going to be fucking hard. And I fully understand along the way. Any final words of wisdom from you?
Well, just to add on to that last piece was, don't ignore the markers. I mean, you touched on a few of them, but if your sleep starts to turn into shit when you're in a huge calorie surplus, don't, you're not going to sleep as good as you normally do, right? Like, accept that. But also, if your sleep turns terrible, you're going to get into a similar situation where you're going to start hating this process, hating food. And that's not the way to go. You need to kind of make sure that relationship with food is maintained, because you're going to have to eat some of it later. But markers, the HRV, resting heart rate, stuff like that, like if it starts to change, which we noticed, sleep was going down, heart rate variability was going down, which for me, I'm not an athlete, but
yes, you are.
I'm an athlete,
Yeah.
but when those markers started going down simultaneously, I think I ignored them for a while because one, the calories were working, we were getting, and maybe that's a sacrifice you make for a short period, but that's why, good to have a coach to say, hey, it's time to pull this back because maybe things are working for you, but your life might be shit because you're not sleeping, you don't feel good, your heart's not doing well, but maybe you're gaining a few pounds. So it's good to have that in mind when you kind of endeavor into the higher calorie spaces, because don't think you're going to get it right the first time, because we've gone up and down a few times with the calories, and I'll learn something new each time, but it's these little tips and tricks that are now like mainstays. And when I get into the higher calorie places where it's like, okay, we can do this. I feel like I'm well armed with the knowledge and tools to be able to do it.
Yeah. And I think even with that, it's like understanding, what your limits are. Do you know what I mean? Like push them and then understand. And, it's the same as whenever we look at the opposite side. I'll use myself as an example. It's easy. On the fat loss phase, I know that I can really struggle for a very short period of time, and that's what works for me. Same on the way up. I'm like, okay, I can push this for a certain amount of time. There's a limit in terms of the amount of calories. Even with protein, I remember when I worked with Callum, I think I used to eat 6 meals a day and they were all 40 grams of protein. He was like, we need to push the protein, and we took it to 50 grams. My body did not like that, and I learned that lesson very quickly, and we adjusted. But yeah, thanks for joining me. I think, like I said, not many people talk about this side of it because everybody's trying to do the other fucking thing, but the struggles are there within that. There is a question for you in that book. What qualities do you hope your friends /family say about you at your eventual eulogy? Fucking hell. Everybody's talking about fucking...
A little morbid there, huh?
Yeah, fucking hell. So what qualities do you hope your friends and family say about you at your, in brackets, eventual eulogy?
What qualities? Well, I hope they list my weight as over 200 pounds and low body fat. That'd be cool.
We'll put a load of fucking weight in your
put some
in the
rocks
coffin.
and
Like, fucking hell, Phil must be hitting the weights for sure.
Would have been cool if you gave me some time to think about that one.
I just read the question for the first time.
I don't know if that's something I've thought about too much. I mean, I would like to think that people see me as a resource, like a dependable person. Like if you need something and you ask me for it, it will get done. I think especially getting a little bit older, family has just increasingly grown more important to me than maybe it was in kind of the high school and college periods. So I hope, and when I say family, I don't mean just, people related to me, really close friends. I think I'm not the type of person to have a million friends, but the people who I do call friends are folks that I think would see me as dependable, same for me, for them, or them for me. Dependable. I'd like to think that they could trust me along the same lines. I think if, maybe to summarize it, anyone who's at my funeral, I would hope that they would consider this idea of family that I'm talking about here. I'd hope that they would consider themselves a part of that. So if they cared enough to go see me, I hope that I showed them enough of me and who I am and what they mean to me that they would think, this isn't just another guy. This one's family.
Fair. So what you're saying is, if Randy puts you on dishes, the fucking dishes will get done.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Phil, thanks for everything. Thanks for being a part of all this fucking chaos. Thanks for finally sitting down with me and going through that. Like I said, I understand the struggles, and I know there'll be a lot of value in this for people listening. Cool. See you in the next one. You get to write a question, and you know who you're writing the question for.